This video is going to be just a shallow look at the base code. So we're going to look at pretty much 4 different aspects. Most of the base code boils down to these 4 aspects. It is data objects, game objects, scenes, and windows. So data objects, these are objects that are created from the software. The maps, map infos, data map, um, even the events I think are in here somewhere. The data we set up inside the database as well, all your weapons, your items, your skills, your actors and classes, this is all taken from the game or the software. So if you create another map, that is in the data somewhere. If you add something here, that'll be added to the data objects. So this data is generally not modified or saved. Now there are things we might want to do. If you want to add a script or a plugin that alters the way that weapons work, then yeah, you can add something to this. But keep in mind, it won't by default be saved. You generally don't want to save these data objects. So if you do make changes to these, it should probably just be something that gets added to it when the game loads up, and then that's it. It's not something that you want to be making game changes to. Which leads us on to the next point, that game objects generally are something that will change as the game goes on. So you have your switches and variables. These will be toggled true or false as you make the game. You have the game party and the game actors. And so these things generally will change. The actors can have levels, they'll change their equipment, they'll gain new skills. And yeah, this all needs to be saved. So game objects generally do get saved. I think maybe game temp is one that doesn't because it's temp, but I'm not certain about that. Maybe it does save that as well. So the third aspect is scenes. You can think of a scene like a page of a website. So there's a whole file here dedicated to scenes. And it's just underscore scenes. Some of the different scenes we have: scene title. When you start up the game, I'll just show this off. This is scene title. Think of that like a page of a website. If we click new game, this takes us to scene map, which allows us to walk around. We have scene battle when we get into a battle. And then we have all of our menus, which are also scenes. So if I want to load up the main menu, this is the menu scene. If I click on a skill, this is the skill scene. Now I think the naming convention is scene something. So scene equip, scene item, scene skill. This is all the code that builds up these scenes that we're looking at here. Scene status, the one at the bottom. So just to give you an idea, the game is built using a scene stack. And this is kind of similar to a website where if this is the home page and you click to go to a new page, it will allow you to go back. And that's the point of a scene stack, that if I want to now go into a new menu, this isn't taking me completely away from what we were doing. This just puts this on top of the stack, so when I cancel, I go back. So I'll get a little bit of a visual representation going for you. So we load up the game and we have scene title. Then if we click new game, it loads up scene map on top of the title. It adds it to the top of the stack. And then if we open a menu, we get scene menu and it loads that on top of the menu. So then we load another scene. We go into maybe scene item to have a look at the items our party has, and it loads that on top of the menu. So now if we cancel, it gets rid of scene item and returns us to the one that's on top of the stack, which is the menu. And then if we cancel out of the menu, it gets rid of the menu and puts us back on top of the stack with scene map. And this is how the scenes work. You can replace the scene stack, but then you're probably going to wreck everything. Generally, what we do is push a scene onto the scene stack, and then it just keeps going from there until we cancel, and then we go back, and then we go back again, and that's how it works. So the last aspect are windows. So windows are panels or windows that are used to display information or allow us to select an option. So this small window here is the gold window. All it does is displays how much gold the party has. That's all it does. Then we have this window here, quite a big one. This window displays all of the actors. And this window here gives us some options to select from. So let's just go into another one, another scene. Here we have a window that allows us to select an option. We have a window on the left that displays the actor's status. We have a help window at the bottom, so if we click on something, it allows us to see a bit more information. That's a help window at the bottom. And then again, we've clicked this option here, and then now we're inside this window, and we can select something from here. So when we select from here, it does more, and it goes on and on. So yeah, generally, the windows are for displaying information or allowing us to select an option. So some of the different window types, you get base windows, which are generally just for showing off some data or information. You get selectable windows, which are usually for selecting items or skills, that sort of thing. And then you get command windows, and command windows are usually for selecting sort of options, words, things like that, rather than a list of items. It's usually, yeah, so here are the commands: equip, optimize, and clear. But these are not commands because you are selecting an item. So the difference here, we won't go into the weeds too much right now, but command windows allow you to select and set what is called a handle or a symbol, and then that lets you decide what to do based on the symbol chosen. But generally, selectable windows, you can select items, and items can be skills as well. There will be little differences or nuance, but that's a good starter look on how we build scenes in Windows. Let's not go too deep into it, but a lot of what you'll see, there'll be some kind of initialize for scenes, and this sets up some base information or data that the scene will need to use. Again, don't worry about the syntax right now. We'll get into that sort of stuff. But yeah, initialize is usually for setting up. Create, you'll usually see the scene create a whole bunch of windows all at once, and that's just common. You want to create all your windows at one time, usually when when the scene starts. You'll see set handler for commands, which is yeah, just sort of what do you want to do if this is clicked on. You'll see a lot of on something OK and on something cancel. This is generally input, so it's on slot OK, on slot cancel. You'll see that a lot. On item OK, on item cancel. Well, so here is another window that you'll see again, initialize, create. A lot of the same stuff gets repeated, just yep. So here's scene shop, same thing. It will do some sort of initialization, and it will create all the windows. Let's have a look at the windows. So here you will initialize each window. Now update. I think this runs once every frame, or it will at least try to. So this is important for constantly updating data if it needs to be, but you need to be very careful when using update. If you put lots and lots of code in an update function, it can slow down the game or even break it. Yeah, let's not go too much into this stuff right now. So it was important that you learned about scenes, windows, and then data objects, game objects. Because when we get back to our plugin, we will be taking a look at how we can manipulate either a scene or a window to display what we want. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll get back into the plugin code right after.